Ladies and gents, I am super proud to finally present the 9th episode of the Pokemon Black 2 Shiny Badge Crest Nuzlocke. I've been looking forward to putting this episode together since the day I started this challenge, and I'm ecstatic to be able to bring it forward today. Starting things off, we leave Marlin's gym and head to Route 22. Colress and Terrakion say a quick hello as Colress gives us the Colress machine, a necessary item to progress the story. We hike over to Seaside Cave to use the machine on the crystal blocking our path, allowing us to progress to the Plasma Frigate. We hop onto the Frigate and get right to battling Team Plasma. The first grunt leads with Watchog, so we chip and dip with E-Scroll and finish with Baconers. As Garbodor comes out, Baconers holds down the fort. Heading inside the Frigate, we then have to do a double battle with Hugh. The grunts lead off with Seviper and Woobat, while we lead with Emolga and Hugh leads with Samarat. E-Scroll almost takes out the Golbat as we pivot into Boneless, and Samarat cleans up Golbat next turn. Drapion replaces Golbat, and Boneless finishes off the already weakened Seviper. Samarat falls to a Night Slash crit though, so Hugh sends out on Fizzant next. Drapion barely scratches our Boneless as Hugh takes out Garbodor. Finally, Boneless Dark Pulses Drapion, giving Chop Chop the move Dragon Dance as it gets experience from the XP share. Good stuff, Bird. The next goal is to infiltrate the Plasma Frigate and unlock the electric doors to be able to face some more challenging Team Plasma members. Along the way, we pick up some random items and defeat a slew of grunts with our shiny gang, healing them as needed along the way. Eventually, we would find our 4 switches, allowing us to fight Sage Zinzalin, overlooking the all-powerful Kieran. Our Grunt and Hugh join in as we get ready to fight. Cryogonal sets up an annoying Reflect to start the fight, but Baconers is able to power through with Flame Charge. Soon after, the second Cryogonal stands no chance as Baconers racks up another body, and Samarat finishes Leopard. As Weevil comes out, we stick with the Flame Charge to maintain speed advantage and take it out with the subsequent turn. Finally, we double team the Grunts Watchog and Scolipede to claim victory. But that's not all. Our Chop Chop also gained enough experience from the experience share to evolve. Chop Chop and even more menacing Fracture is not done evolving yet, but that shiny sure is gorgeous to look at. As the dust settles though, the Shadow Triad dumps us on the beach as the Frigate flies away. We venture back to Route 22, where Hugh helps us out and budges past some grunts blocking our way in the entrance to the giant chasm. We can then use Strength and Surf to pick up the phenomenal Ice Beam TM. We scour the rest of the cave and entrance near Lacunosa Town for items and stuff before heading into the heart of the chasm. Once inside, we once again confront Team Plasma for Hugh to begin what would become the climax of the Team Plasma story. The approaching grunt leads with Wheezing, so we chip and dip with E-Scroll to allow for a clean kill with Boneless. Threatening a powerful explosion, I'm glad we dealt with it quickly. Next, Muck emerges, and we power through it with a ton of Dark Pulse flinches, mooching off the leftovers as we go. Best item in the game, to be honest. We're able to get past the grunts and enter the Frigate again, which is now frozen to the heart of the chasm. We go inside, met by a couple of grunts. We take out the Scrabby and Trubbish with ease, but then I make a hard-stopping blunder against the emerging Scrafty. E-Scroll wasn't able to take out the Scrafty, and its high jump kick nearly takes out Crocs as we dodge the crit. I count my blessings as I finish off the battle, knocking out the Golbat, the Scrafty, and the following Whirlipede and Garbodor by switching around. Good thing I'm lucky. Finally inside the Plasma Frigate, there's another 4 barriers I need to deactivate using a keycard to traverse to the bosses. I'll spare you the details. After defeating a nurse to be able to heal consistently, it took me about 20 minutes to beat all the grunts, get the keycard, grab some random items, and unlock the doors to type in Zekrom. Easy peasy. Once past the grunt gauntlet, Sage Zinzalin stops us again. E-Scroll chips and dips as then we send in Baconers. It tanks an Ice Beam, taking out Cryogonal with a couple of arm thrusts. The next Cryogonal comes out and feints to a Flame Charge after setting up an irrelevant light screen. Weevil feints to a couple of arm thrusts next to finish off Zinzalin for the final time. We're now able to progress to one of the last bosses in the game. After teleporting to the head of the ship, Colress meets us and challenges us to a battle. After taking some time to set up my party, we launch headfirst into one of the best themes the game has to offer. We start off the battle by threatening a Stealth Rock, which will come in handy later. Rogchamp lives on Sturdy as we send in Slide-In DMs to Chip. A slow vault switch gives us the positioning we want, as Crocs comes out right behind our Eel. Crocs takes out the Magneton with Earthquake. Then, the incoming Magnezone poses no threat after its sturdy is broken by the Stealth Rocks, allowing Moxie Earthquake to finish the job. The preceding Behemoth, Klinklang, and Metang get absolutely bodied by the Moxied up Dark and Ground type, exploiting each of their weaknesses. A good plan for a good fight. We heal up and then head to the final boss's room. As Getsis talks about his evil plan, the Shadow Triad intercepts us and Hugh, bringing out the Purloin he's looked so long for. Spoilers, it kinda evolved into a leopard, but cats aside, the Shadows challenge us to one final battle each. The first Shadow gets swept by Baconers, using Arm Thrust to power through the Dark types. The second meets a similar fate, as Baconers warms up the hand for another beatdown. Excelgor gets one shot in the back by a Flame Charge to seal it. Baconer starts off the final trainer, but Boneless steps in once the Banette emerges from the Shadow's side. It outspeeds and finishes off the battle. We wrap things up with a decisive Earthquake from Crocs to take out the Pawniard. We finally live the Frigate, going to the furthest chamber of the chasm to finish off the last of Teed Plasma, but before we head in, we have some EV training to do. Chop Chop, our most underutilized member next to Gimme Kissy, is gonna get his chance to shine. We head to the earliest route and start to take out Purloin and Patrat, gaining attack and speed EVs as we trudge through. Eventually, I would meet my quota, maxing out Chop Chop's attack and speed EVs. The only thing left to do was to make him bigger, so a couple of high-level Audino did the trick next, putting Chop Chop up for an evolution. Haxorus is arguably one of the best shinies ever, let alone Generation 5. It's more than just pretty though. Haxorus's base stats and grinding allow it to pack a mean attack stat, and coupled with the speed, it poses a massive threat to the rest of the bosses we have to face. Heading back to the Giant Chasm, Getsis calls upon Kieran to take us out with a Glaciate, in the nick of time though, and swoops in with Zekrom to save us. This is exactly what Getsis wanted, however, as the DNA splicers allowed Kieran to gain transformative powers, so it trapped Zekrom in the Darkstone and then absorbed it. Once it consumed the Darkstone, Kyurem changed to Black Kyurem, an even scarier Pokemon for my team to take down. After it's done transforming though, we have to take it down so Zekrom can be released from the fusion. Challenging Kyurem at level 55, I did not want to risk any deaths by fighting it. With the massive attack stat we just built up on Haxorus, I figured and calced that a Dragon Gem boosted Dragon Claw would do just enough to ensure a kill on the beast. Whew. As Zekrom and Kyurem split, Getsis then challenges us in a fit of rage for the last supervillain fight of the playthrough. He leads with Cofagrigus, immediately poisoning Chop Chop, defenseless without an item since the Dragon Gem took out Kyurem. Thankfully, a Sword Stance is enough to take it out with the Dragon Gem, moving past Cofagrigus. Next, a menacing Hydreigon comes out to match our dragon, but alas, a +2 Haxorus is even scarier. We one-shot it as Seismitoad comes out. Still on a timer, I take the last free kill before needing to swap. I decide to face Drapion with Crocs, dodging an X-Scissor crit before taking it out with an Earthquake. Next, outspeeding Toxicroak, it picks off another Pokemon with an Earthquake. Finally, the outspatty Electros in the back is swept by a crunch from our Moxied up Crocs. GG's Getsis. En shares a heart-to-heart with Getsis as he escapes with a Shadow Triad member, but the air clears as En takes off on the freed Zekrom through the ceiling. Peace out. Hugh rolls up next, instructing us to go to Route 23. On our way out of the chasm though, we grab the TM for Psyshock. Moving through Route 23, I also grab the TM for Hone Claws around a couple corners. Exploring Route 23 some more, I pick up a ton of other random items and defeat trainers for increased experience, but I get caught off guard in a tough battle with an Ace Trainer. This Ace Trainer started with a Magmar, which E-Scroll was able to chip and dip with Volt Switch. However, as Boneless cleaned up Magmar, a Mamoswine came out next. Fearing the run, I have 0 safe switches in my party as I nervously roost up with Boneless. Mamoswine takes the opportunity to land a crit blizzard and freeze Boneless, only surviving because of the negated super effective damage since Roost makes the user drop the flying type for the turn. At this point, I've accepted that Boneless wouldn't be making it out of this matchup alive, so I go for the Thaw, hoping to chip Mamoswine so I can finish it off with Chop Chop. This was where things got crazy. I get a first turn Thaw out, matching the 10% chance it took to freeze me in the first place. Dark Pulse chips Mamoswine, flinching the beast and saving me another turn. In hindsight, I absolutely should have spammed Roost here to stall Mamo out of Blizzards while losing my flying typing through Roost, but I was so nervous I just spammed Dark Pulse. The next turn, I take it under half as it gets off a Mist. Who cares? At above half health, I use another Dark Pulse to put it in kill range. However, Mamoswine lands another Blizzard, and although it didn't crit, I do get frozen again in the process. Knowing that Boneless was probably done for, I click Dark Pulse. One final time. Wow, this fight was disgustingly scary, and I wish I properly prepared for it beforehand. This once again reminded me of how vital preparation was in a Nuzlocke, and I took proper precautions as I traversed through the rest of the route. As I'm looting the place, I grab the TM for Taunt off the peak of a cliff and the TM for Flamethrower from a veteran battler on my way inside Victory Road. Once inside, I make my way past about a dozen trainers battling a nurse for a checkpoint. Eventually, I take a detour, and I wind up in a scary fight against a couple of veteran trainers in a cave. I lead the fight with E-Scroll and Crocs, as Braviary and Mandibuzz face my lead. Crocs and E-Scroll are able to double target and take out the Braviary on the first turn, but the Mandibuzz uses U-turn to bring out a swift and hard-hitting Archeops, as Caracosta replaces the Braviary slot. I opt to bring Chop Chop for Crocs, and outspeed and take out Archeops with a Volt Switch to go into Boneless, and Caracosta thankfully just Aqua Tails Chop Chop. Chop Chop takes out the non-sturdy Caracosta with a rivalry boosted Dragon Claw, as the Mandibuzz in the back threatens little damage. I was pretty proud of how I played this fight too, although I guess I could have taken out the Caracosta with an Earthquake instead of switching. All's well that ends well, I guess. As a reward, I pick up the TM for Wild Charge that's just around the corner. Edging even further into Victory Road, I grab a PP Max in a cave, which will prove very useful later on. Eventually, I get a bit bored of Victory Road battles, so I take it to Celestial Tower in the first route to grind out Special Attack and Attack EVs on Gimme Kissy respectively. Gimme Kissy eventually caps out, boasting new highs and a U-turn attack, proving its viability. Next, I take it to the Giant Chasm to grind experience against Wild Audino in the Rustling Grass. Eventually getting my whole team above level 57, I ready the troops as I begin to face some of the scarier non-boss fights at the end of Victory Road. Veteran Portia leads with Zebstrika, so after being flinch crit with a Stomp, we take out the Zebra with an Earthquake. Next, knowing that Crocs is slower than the incoming Starmie, we send in Boneless to put in some work. By the power of Roosting and Dark Pulsing, we took it out with a little bit over half health left. Next, Saw came out. We readied our bird with Fly beforehand, and whittled it down into the red as we tank a Brick Break. Dark Pulse finishes it off. Nice. Next up, Veteran Sterling leads with Beartick as we start with Baconers. After narrowly killing with Flamethrower, we tank a Brine before closing the deal. Next, Golurk comes out as we send in Boneless. Walling the Iron Giant, we take it out with a couple of Dark Pulses. Finally, Throw is the Mon in the back, which uses Rock Slide as we send in E-Scroll. Thankfully, we dodged, but I panicked and sent in Slide and DMs instead of using Volt Switch. As Throw continues to bulk up, we chip it with Acrobatics. We were surprisingly faster, so with one hit left on Throw, we Volt Switch into Mandibuzz to try to seal the deal. Shadow Ball barely doesn't kill, and a Rock Slide takes Boneless all the way down to the red. Thankfully, we dodged the crit, but I closed the battle out with the final Shadow Ball. The nerves definitely got the better of me in this fight, but I was lucky enough to tail the tail in the end. The final fight at Victory Road, fittingly, is against our rival. This fight is a massive pain with high level Mons so close to the level cap. The fight starts off with E-Scroll vs Unfazant, and I apparently dodged a crit that would have otherwise killed our Emolga. That was kinda spooky. We take it out and send in Slide and DMs. Our Eel then dodges a crit with Head Smash, which I also should have probably calced. We go into Crocs, who superpowers Bouffalant for the knockout. Next up is Samarat, which is a massive threat because of its crazy coverage. Boneless is once again the answer, so we switch in, Toxic the Samarat, and stall with Roost and Fly before we get frozen or anything. Finally, Simisage is the last in the order, which we saved our favorite dragon for. We first pivot into Crocs to try and catch a Rock Slide and bait a Grass move, which we ended up dodging anyways, but Chop Chop comes in, eats an Energy Ball, harnesses its massive attack stat, and claws up the monkey. Good stuff, team. Hugh admits defeat and hands us the very useful Thunderbolt TM before we proudly march out of Victory Road. We've done it. We finally made it to the Pokemon League. This is essentially the gym leader of the episode, setting up the level cap of 58 and calling for the most preparation and strategy I've used thus far in my playthrough. But before we take on the league, we have to hunt for our 9th member. We eventually found our 9th member, Vanillish, about 5 months after Axew. After a total of 25,650 random encounters, ICY GRL the Vanillish joined a team. This Pokemon is a real Saweetie, but its adamant nature definitely isn't doing it any favors. With a rough IV scan, I can tell that it has perfect HP and a very high special defense, meaning that I could use it to set Hail, eat special moves, and fire off blizzards, but its very mid special attack and speed would speak to it being a little less useful. I'm sure I'll find a way for it to excel eventually, but I don't think it'll be an Elite Four bring. With Vanillish finally secured, I prepare my chosen 6 Pokemon to take on the Elite Four. Over a theory crafting stream, I deduced that these would be my final Pokemon I would take with me to the Elite Four. Rogchamp, with Stealth Rock, Iron Defense, Smackdown, and Sandstorm. Boneless, with Roost, Nasty Plot, Dark Pulse, and Iron Defense. E-Squirrel, with Encore, Volt Switch, Electro Ball, and Acrobatics. Slide and DMs, with Crunch, Volt Switch, Thunder Wave, and a Free Spot. Crocs, with Superpower, Crunch, Earthquake, and Hone Claws. And Chop Chop, with Slash, Dragon Claw, Sword Stance, and Low Kick. I first went to the move tutors to get certain moves, and then I went to the relearner to learn some others, and then I also used some TMs to create this team. I also amassed a lot of wings from the Driftveil drawbridge, so I could have EVs handy if I ever needed to change them while in the Elite Four. Edging my team made my heart pound as I was super excited to progress. I reverse planned every fight to the best of my ability and had each fight prepped down to the EV and item. That's what these battles take. This is my favorite part about Gen 5. My favorite music. The best battles. The most thought out strategies, and 6 Pokemon to win it all. Welcome to the Elite Four. If I can have a freebie, I'll absolutely take it. That's why we start off by fighting Chantal. Her Ghost-type Pokemon don't really stand a chance against our Boneless. Specifically, Cofagrigus gets bodied by our Dark and Flying typing, only really threatening with gradual burn damage and special defense drops from Shadow Ball. Because of this great advantage, I regret not putting Lucky Egg on Boneless instead of Leftovers to boost experience gain, but regardless, we take out Cofagrigus at +6. With our buffed and speedy bird not even being remotely threatened, we take the opportunity to wipe out the rest of Chantal's team for a clean sweep. What's more, I equipped the experience share to allow for Chop Chop to gain some extra experience for a later fight. Phenomenal job from Boneless. With the easiest fight done, we march forward. I make sure Boneless is healed and has the highest PP for Roost, because I was going to implement the first PP stall of the run next. This battle could prove difficult, but everything has an answer. Let's do this. Continuing the momentum, we crash straight into Marshall. This fight was a bit more difficult to plan, so we lead by setting up Stealth Rock with Rogchamp, while tanking a hit and having Sturdy Insurance. I then switch into Boneless where the majority of the match will be played. With Boneless's Iron Solid defenses in bulk and stat boosting moves to boot, I proceeded to completely stall Throw out of all of its moves. Rock Tomb, Storm Throw, Payback, and Bulldoze. When I needed health, I would use Roost. When I needed to stall, I had 2 stat boosting moves to use instead of attacking. Eventually, I would get Throw to use all of its PP. At this point, I send in Chop Chop, when I would set up with Sword Stance to +6 to prepare for a beatdown. With a Lucky Egg equipped, I shredded through Marshall's fighters with Dragon Claw, absolutely tearing through Throw, Mian Shao, Conkeldurr, and Sawk. Sawk has Sturdy too, which is why I set up Stealth Rocks to begin with. This net Chop Chop enough experience to be halfway to 61. Absolutely fantastic. Patience really is key. Next up is an interesting opponent. For this game, I would have to play to my advantages instead of gambling. This would call for a new strategy. After all, I'm not the one to take risks when it comes to this opponent. Grimsley's dark types can be a bit spooky for some, but Crocs can handle them pretty well. Since she isn't affected by the leading Leopard's attract, I safely set up 3 Hone Claws while benefiting from leftovers. Aerial Aces from the cat aren't nearly enough to threaten our Crocs in the meantime, so I can beef up before taking out the Leopard with Earthquake. The Moxie boost puts us to +4. Bisharp comes out. Earthquake is more than enough to take it out. Moxie puts me to +5. Scrafty's next. Earthquake absolutely demolishes it. Moxie puts us to +6. Finally, Crocodile comes out, intimidating me down to +5, but the avalanche of attack boosts proved to be enough, however, and a final superpower seals the deal against Grimsley. GG's. I'm kinda on a roll. I figured this was a cinch, but the final member was just ahead. Of course I had a plan. Of course I thought I was ready. But what I wasn't ready for caught me way off guard. Let's see just how elite these battles can get. Caitlyn awakens from her slumber and leads with Musharna, which we opt to start off with our Chop Chop into. Chop Chop needs more experience, so I just wanted to have it get some off with this lead. Crocs is the switch in as Musharna yawns to threaten the sleep. I swap into Boneless though, getting ready to handle the bird misses. However, to my surprise, Kalen then switches to Reuniclus, an unexpected result. I'm guessing this happened because of Croc's resistance to Psychic from Musharna, which makes sense, but I just wish I had accounted for it. Reuniclus hits a Focus Blast as we begin to spontaneously set up with Boneless. Boneless takes 2 Focus Blasts before getting the +6, and Reuniclus goes down for the count. Sigilyph is next, but it's just too slow for Bones to let it slide. It takes out the opposing bird. Gothitelle can't tell what it's in for as she swaps in afterwards, as Boneless picks up yet another kill. Finally, Musharna comes back and Boneless catches one last body. Great work even after the awkward switch. With the Elite Four defeated, I'm technically on to the next level cap. However, I decided to have only one level cap this episode, so I ignored the upcoming cap. I also decided not to use any rare candies because I had gained enough experience from fighting the Elite Four already. With all that in mind, I walk into the Champions Room. This is the final battle of the episode. This is the final battle of the Pokemon League. It all leads up to this. Here we go. For this fight, I prepared by previously managing experience, teaching specific moves, and changing EVs to make sure I had the best win rate possible. I lead with Gigalith into Iris's Hydreigon, setting up the good old Stealth Rocks. We tank the Surf, and I get ready to switch. As I use Nasty Plot on Boneless, I realize that Hydreigon used Dragon Pulse first. I thought that I had used enough wings to guarantee my speed is better than Hydreigon's, but I was actually looking at the Special Defense tab instead of the Speed tab when looking at the spreadsheet with Iris's Pokemon stats. This was a massive blunder, as not being able to heal first puts a huge dent in my game plan. This disadvantage greatly changed my playstyle, requiring me to be safe and heal constantly instead of when I needed to. My original plan was a PP stall with Flamethrower and Dragon Pulse, but the scary thought of getting constantly crit and having a burn eliminate leftovers healing, I opted to just get rid of the Dragon Pulse PP. Eventually, I would survive long enough to stall Hydreigon out of Dragon Pulse. This prompted the switch into Chop Chop. Praying for no Flamethrower, crit, or burn, I dodged both on the first attempt. Setting up a Sword Stance, I then watched as the second Flamethrower came at me. No crit, no burn. I was ecstatic. At +2 and holding a Draco Plate, I was poised to take the dub. Lapras came out and I frantically calced to make sure low kick was enough. I kicked, and it was. Next, Archeops came out. Thankfully, my speed EVs were just enough to outspeed it, and the attack boost was more than enough to take it out. Next, Druddigon emerges, holding a Life Orb. This Pokemon was a massive threat, but it was too slow and we were too buffed. It too falls to Dragon Claw. Aggron follows. This Pokemon was the main reason I equipped Low Kick to Chop Chop. Without a strong enough ground move, I take advantage of its 4x weakness and heaviness and take the one-shot with ease. Finally, we meet our match. Iris's signature Haxorus, holding a Focus Sash, emerges onto the field. Stealth Rocks accounts for the Focus Sash, however, and with enough speed EVs to go faster, we send the final Dragon Claw. And that was all she wrote. A final time of 473 hours, I clocked into the Hall of Fame, cementing my dominance over the Unova region for the first time ever using Nuzlocke rules. With such a clutch champion fight, I could not contain my happiness behind a webcam. I'll let the credits roll. This was it. I've been waiting for this moment for the longest time. Coming all the way from Aspertia City in December of 2020, I traversed all the way across the Unova region, completing my first Nuzlocke ever. I'm not entirely sure how I want to fully summarize my journey, but I can do my best. Sure, there was a Pokemon journey, but I was also doing a lot of IRL stuff as well. As early as the beginning of my starter hunt, I was finishing up my senior year of high school, and I had chosen the university I wanted to attend not so long after I got Baconers. Getting Baconers was enough to keep me in it though. I can't imagine how demotivating it would have been to go above odds or even double odds for the first member, so I'm really grateful for that. I then got a capture card before I started my Roggenrola hunt. Rogchamp definitely tested my patience with some brutal phases, but I'm glad he was able to pull his weight throughout the main story. Getting through this hunt allowed me to finish my senior year of high school, so it made my summer seem long with all the phases. Next up was Boneless. It was so well worth how long it took to get him, which I would definitely deem MVP for this Shiny Badge Quest Nuzlocke. The Shiny's so good too. I got it during the very start of my winter break, so it was really nice to come back and put an end to such a long hunt. E-Squirrel needs no introduction. As the mascot of this channel, I needed an excuse to hunt Emolga, and through such a fun method, I would even argue the past power methods are my favorite type of hunting. Gimme Kissy deserves more recognition than I give it. It showed up first phase, which was just lucky enough, and it has incredible potential as a Pokemon, but I'm excited to implement it soon. Just wait. Slide in DMs was even more insane that it came so quick, and I wouldn't change its stats for the world. It may be slow, but it shined fast, and it can switch up in a second. Gotta give her credit. To say Crocs came fast was an understatement. A 40% target that came after 85 random encounters is just insane. I was just getting used to the hunt. Anyways, Crocs is an amazing Mon too, and such a great sweeper. Glad to have her. She came at a great time too, and my spirits were high going back from my spring semester of college. Coming back on spring break, Chop Chop is also the result of a crazy hunt, a coin flip gone right, and just after coming home from spring break. The Repeltric was a bit annoying, but so worth it for such a great shiny and such a powerful Pokemon. Chop Chop kinda carried. Nothing much else to say for such an amazing Mon. I really hyped up the rest, but Icy Girl didn't really get a chance to prove her worth. As she would say, cause she's icy, wifey, and haters wanna fight her. She does represent a drought breaker though, having broken a 5-month dry streak for the members of this quest. She's never living comfortably, got a lot of goals to meet. Stay tuned. And yes, there's one more spot on my layout. This is a 10-member Shiny Badge Quest after all. The last member will be coming in the last episode. Stay tuned and stay excited. Hopefully I talked enough to let the credits roll. After reflecting on the Elite Four and the Champion, I had a bit to say. Let's let emotionally unstable Facecam Seamus express his thoughts. So, that's the end of this recording. Thank you for watching. Probably won't include this in the video, but I'm out. That just about sums it up. Like I said, stay tuned, but this is where episode 9 ends. This has been my favorite episode to play through, record, edit, and publish so far, and I'm glad you were here to watch it. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed episode 9 of the Pokemon Black 2 Shiny Badge Quest Nuzlocke. Peace.